Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, your archbishop of Banterbury, and of course, as we all know, thanks to Xevious, John Campy came up with this, but Xevious made this drawing, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am here once again. Robservations episode 410? My God, how time flies. And of course, I am Rob casting at you from the Robservatory. You imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community. You imagination connoisseurs which make up this audience and make my life more fun than it already is. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being a good audience. It's great to be back on a Friday. First, want to point out tonight is another episode 25. 25, a show that was begat of this entire pandemic crisis. We weren't going to do Elizabeth's whining about movies. It was something we came up with to pass the time during the coronavirus 19 worldwide pandemic, and it seems to have caught on. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for our 25th episode, and I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, shouldn't it be your 30th episode, Rob? It should have been. But you know what? When I made the knee-jerk idea to do Logan's Run tonight, I wasn't thinking about waiting until the 30th episode to do it. But anyway, Logan's Run tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Logan's Run, 8 o'clock tonight on Elizabeth's. Elizabeth has never seen Logan's Run. I figured after doing Life Force on Saturday, or wait, we didn't do Life Force Saturday, we did Life Force on Wednesday. Why not follow it up with a movie that came out 9 years before? Logan's Run, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be fun. So join in. If you've never watched a whining about movies, it's kind of fun. And come meet Elizabeth. She's pretty hilarious. She's good on-camera presence, and dare I say it, a good foil. Perhaps I'm her foil, but I leave that up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to start out with today, before I jump into the topic at hand, I want to read, I did want to read, I wanted to read a comment that was left on yesterday's chat. And, I thought it was worth sharing. I'm going to have to put on my glasses for that one. And I think many of you will understand why I want to jump in with this particular comment. This is a comic from Rex Bellator, and he left it 5 hours ago. Robert, I'm not really a regular watcher. I linked here from your Brian Fuller interview, which got picked up by Reddit. Well, that's cool. I'm a lifelong Trek fan, and I've been a fan when TOS was the only Trek on TV on late nights. I am not one of your Discovery Picard-hating Trek fans, but I can see that you cater to that circle of toxic fandom. Do I? I mean, you're not a regular watcher by your own admission. I wouldn't say I cater to that circle of toxic fandom. I would say that I am part of that toxic circle of fandom, but I'm not catering to other people who are part of that. I always say that if you like Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, that could be the first Star Trek you ever see. And it leads you back into the rest of the franchise, the riches of the franchise. But anyway, I firmly admit, I hate both of those shows. But that doesn't mean you need to hate both of those shows, nor does it mean the people who watch this channel have to hate those shows. I'm just chiming into you because your entire transporter rant is the kind of myopic, authoritative nitpicking that I cannot stand when I see it in Star Trek fandom. Or any geeky fandom, but it happens frequently in Star Trek circles. You speak with authority on transporters and deride JJ's use of them as magic and how it broke transporters. But you fail to really comprehend the greater truth of what you're arguing about. All transporter technology is magic. Just because the original series and the Next Generation writers set down artificial limitations on transporter tech just to instill some drama into a story doesn't mean that these limitations are more realistic or more grounded. Transporter tech is magic and not based on any real scientific understanding that we can conceive of. Realistically, dematerializing someone will kill them, even if you could rematerialize them. You're trying to assert that this device is governed by certain rules that are completely fictional. Like the game of Fizbin, they can be whatever the writers want. Ultimately, Star Trek is not defined by the minutiae of its fictional accoutrements. That's just window dressing to help move the story along. Getting caught up... Oh, hang on. Ultimately, Star Trek is not defined by the minutiae of its fictional accoutrements. That's just window dressing to help move the story along. Getting caught up in these minute details is really failing to see the forest through the trees. They're just there to help tell the story and keeping it moving. Ultimately, whether Khan had transported from Earth to Kronos in a single leap or had warped there, the story would have played out the same. Don't you get how silly that is? Well, Rex, first of all, respectfully, sir, if you're not really a regular watcher and you linked here from Reddit because you wanted to see the Brian Fuller interview, I find it curious that you would have so much to say about my commentary on transporters, when I think that your assertion, everything that you have stated here, is, I would disagree with it. I personally would disagree with it. First of all, you label me as a certain kind of Star Trek fan. I've been a Star Trek fan my whole life. And the reasons that I don't like certain things, it all comes down to, as everyone who watches this channel knows, it's all about story for me and believability. And anybody who's ever written science fiction, fantasy, or horror, or genre literature, as I call it, you have to establish rules and parameters for your made-up stuff for it to work within the context of the story that you're telling. If you don't do that, well, then you have no credibility with your audience. Magic itself, whether you're talking about magic in Lord of the Rings or magic in Harry Potter or any kind of magic, has to be governed by rules. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in a story. And the thing about a transporter is, within the context of the Star Trek universe, the way the transporter was set up, and for the most part, for the first 40 years of Star Trek's existence, it worked in pretty much the same way. As certain writers have pointed out, certain letter writers to this show, they played fast and loose, and there's some inconsistencies. But for the most part, the transporter was created ultimately, remember, as a production fix for how to get our crew from the Enterprise down planetside without relying on, say, miniatures of a shuttlecraft going from the Enterprise to the planet side. That's expensive. Those are effect shots. So the transporter was created as a very elegant solution. And of course, beginning in the very early first season of Star Trek, the transporter was shown in things like The Enemy Within that it can get broken. And it can cause duplicates of people to be created. Things like that. I would say, yes, that's stretching credulity. But in the confines of what the transporter is supposed to do and how it works in Star Trek, if you had, say, a transporter that you could beam, the credibility of your stories, especially when you're working in science fiction, fantasy, and horror, is reliant upon those. Of course, everything in science fiction is made up. But the important thing is to make your readers or your watchers suspend their disbelief. And part of that is by applying rules to the things that you're making up. Because once the things that you're making up have rules, then they're not just made up, they're thought about. Somebody has said, okay, this has to work a certain way. And I do not think it's myopic nitpicking to say this. I think you talk to any science fiction writer worth their salt, or any fantasy writer, anyone worth their salt understands the idea that any kind of futuristic or sci-fi technology must be governed by some kind of plausible reality based on what you've presented to your readership. I mean, even faster than light travel has to be governed by something. In Star Wars, they explained how, well, in a very quick, very narratively compact way, how does hyperdrive work? How does faster than light travel work? And by the time you get to the Rise of Skywalker, all of that is thrown out the window with light speed skipping. And I would argue that every time you chip away at the foundations of your believable fictional universe, you diminish the universe as a whole. And I don't think when you're talking about the transporter, that's myopic nitpicking. Because the transporter is a foundational fictional principle of Star Trek. We've seen it used on literally hundreds and hundreds of episodes of Star Trek. And in only 2 movies, they destroyed the credibility of that because they were trying to use a narrative shortcut when narrative shortcuts shouldn't have been used in that way. They were dumb choices. And I will say, they were dumb choices, and they diminished the entirety of the Star Trek universe as a whole. But anyway, I don't think it's a rant to say that. And if you're new to this channel, as you said you were, you only came to watch the Brian Fuller interview, I would ask you, sir, before you come after me in way or things, or you say stuff like this, watch a few more episodes. Why not you delve into my opinions about Star Trek? You know, things like that. That's all I would ask. I am trying to assert this device is governed by certain rules that are completely fictional. I am not trying to assert anything. They have been governed by rules that are fictional. All of Star Trek is fictional. And we've seen hundreds of episodes dealing with the transporter. So it's not me. We had 2 movies that decided to change what those rules were. The rules that were established by the creator of Star Trek himself, Gene Roddenberry. So I would say that it's not me being myopic or nitpicking. But I find it curious that you had to come after me on my channel and say that. Normally I don't respond to critics, but when somebody I think is being unfair, I have to say something. But anyway, I do appreciate that you came and you watched the Brian Fuller interview. I do appreciate that very much. And I thank you for that. But, you know, myopic and nitpicking, I don't think so. I disagree with you, sir, respectfully. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. I just wanted to start with that. I don't know why. When I woke up this morning, I was reading this comment. I'm like, you know, it's amazing to me. I do an interview with David Goodman. It's been up for like an hour, and it gets downvoted. Normally, those kinds of things don't bother me. But, you know, I feel a certain responsibility to my guests. Like, David Goodman agreed to come on this channel and be interviewed. And I would think, I thought it was a terrific interview. He gave me 2 hours of his time, and somebody just comes and puts 2 downvotes on it. That's their prerogative, but they didn't watch the interview. If you want to hate me or hate my interview subjects, please, you're welcome to do so. But at least watch, at least listen to what they have to say before you get a downvote. I mean, that's all I would ask. He gave me his time, and if you're going to downvote the video, take the time to watch what he had to say. That's all. That's all. End of my rant today. Ladies and gentlemen, there's some interesting news I felt that I would share with you. And I take this as a positive thing. Very much a positive thing. Deadline is reporting today. Nancy Tartaglione. Nancy Tartaglione wrote about this 2:40 in the morning. Nancy's working late. Shanghai Disneyland park tickets sell out fast for reopening day. As everyone maybe heard, Shanghai Disneyland is opening, and the first 2 days sold out in advance. The Middle Kingdom is eager to get back to the Magic Kingdom. Tickets for the Shanghai Disneyland theme parks reopening on Monday have quickly sold out, demonstrating pent-up demand in China. The park had closed in January as the coronavirus outbreak was escalating. The Shanghai Disney Resort resumed some operations in March with a limited number of shopping, dining, and recreational experiences available. This week, Disney announced it would welcome guests again beginning May 11th and start selling tickets from 8 a.m. local time today. Tickets for the first 2 days are already sold out, though contrary to some reports, it still appears possible to buy tickets through the rest of the week and next weekend. According to Reuters, Chinese third-party vendors Fliggy and Meituan said their allotments for Monday were sold out, while Fliggy said its tickets for May 11th and May 16th were gone within 3 minutes. Disney's other offshore and domestic parks remain closed. While the company has estimated the COVID-19 impact on second quarter operating income in the parks, experiences, and products segment was about $1 billion. The initial Shanghai park reopening will draw on the experience from the successful reopening of Disneytown, Wishing Star Park, and Shanghai Disneyland Hotel in early March and implement enhanced health and safety measures. The first phase will see limited attendance and require advanced ticketing and reservations, social distancing and waiting lines, restaurants, ride vehicles, and other facilities throughout the park, as well as increased frequency of sanitization and disinfection. Guests must purchase dated admission tickets prior to their arrival, and annual pass holders must make a reservation online for their visit date and time through the resort's official online channels. From Monday, the majority of Shanghai Disneyland's attractions, rides, some shows, and shopping and dining locations will resume operations with controlled attendance. However, some interactive attractions and experiences, such as children's play areas and theater shows, will remain closed. Parades and nighttime spectaculars will also return at a later date. Guests will also be required to provide basic personal information, including a China government ID card or valid travel document, undergo temperature screening, and wear an approved mask during the entire visit, save for when eating. The park says the measures will continue to be reviewed as the situation warrants and may be further adjusted. Well, I see this as a positive. I think that obviously everybody wants the economy to open. People are out of work. We want people to work. I mean, imagine, it's not even about the work. It's about being able to just take care of your basic needs. And you need money to do that. And not having money, it's academic. You know, we need people to get back to work. But we need to get people back to work safely and in a measured and slow response. And I look at this as, look, anyone who's ever been to a Disney park, they're pretty damn clean. There's one thing about Disneyland that I've always noticed and respected is that place is kept immaculate. And it's nice to see that the Disney parks in Shanghai, obviously, this virus, the Chinese clamped down hard on this virus. Everybody wants these parks open. Everybody wants the world open. But when they're going to, this is a big opening. This is a big deal. Now, obviously, they're not going full bore. It's not 100%. You're not going to see the Main Street electrical parade. I don't even know if they have the Main Street electrical parade in Shanghai Disneyland. But the fact that they're doing it at all is, I think, a vote of confidence. I think we can look at it, and we have to look at how well is it going to go. Are they going to pull it off? I certainly hope that they do pull it off. I want them to pull it off. I would like to see the world come out from under this. I don't like the fact that here in this country, the United States, we seemingly are okay with 3,000 people dying a day. I think that these models are crazy, and I think that there's ways to open up the country. It has to be measured. It has to be slow. It has to be very carefully done. And I don't see, I'm waiting to see a national plan. The CDC released a plan that the administration has kind of clamped down on and is not promoting. I'm hoping cooler heads will prevail. Stephen Miller's wife was just diagnosed as positive for coronavirus. So it's all throughout the West Wing now. And anyway, I just think that it's important. This virus is around, it's in the air and everywhere. It's around us, and it will be forever until there's a vaccine. But we need to get our world started again, and I'm going to be very curious to see how the experience happens with Shanghai Disneyland. I think a lot of people are. Because it's no good that everybody's out of work, and it's no good that everybody's businesses are on the precipice. I mean, they closed. There's a chain of restaurants in LA called Soup Plantation. Now, I liked Soup Plantation. It was a buffet-style place. I really liked the noodles. I particularly loved their big, fat noodles they had in their chicken soup. And I liked, some people say, it's just boiled water or whatever. I loved Soup Plantation's chicken noodle soup. And if I knew that I would never have been able to get to a Soup Plantation again, I might have gone to one before they closed, because it was sort of a staple of my life in the 90s and 2000s, especially when I was working at an edit place called Midtown Edit. It was literally, my edit bay was right above a Soup Plantation, and I shall miss it. It is gone. They closed all the restaurants here in Southern California yesterday. Well, they'd closed them before, but they officially announced they aren't coming back. None of them. And I really, look, this too will pass. This is the 75th anniversary of Victory Europe Day, of VE Day. Now, if the human race could have gotten through World War II, the horrors of World War II, which dwarfed the horrors of World War I, and then after World War I, they had the Spanish flu, which people have talked about. we can get through anything. We're resilient people, and we should always trust in ourselves as long as we can get our acts together. That's not like Axe body spray. Our acts, meaning multiple acts. I hope that I don't know. I see today as an example. We should look back and remember that the world got through World War II. We did rebuild, and we're here. We're here today, such as it is. So I think that what's going on with Disneyland in Shanghai is a good thing, and I think people are going to watch it and see what happens, and we will know. I hope it will show as a symbol of things to come in a good way. So I hope that is in fact the case. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to start off with today. I thought it was actually a bit of good news that I wanted to share. So I don't know what you guys think, but yeah. And you know what? I've got letters. I've got comments. People are leaving me comments. This would be fun. Today is going to be full of, I'm sure, interesting commentary from people. And you know who has just, I guess, found a new lease on life? Our old friend Ian Samuels, man. I'm getting letters from Ian Samuels, like, all the time. Ian is he's become a letter-writing machine. And here's another letter from Ian. So I'm going to start off with Ian Samuels. Let's light that candle, Ian. Rob and fellow Robservationists. There have been many excellent books that film experts have claimed to be unfilmable. They were seen as impossible to put on the screen while doing the source material justice. One of these books is the sci-fi juggernaut Dune by Frank Herbert. With its mix of sci-fi, religion, War of the Roses-like family feuds, and scenes that would require unbelievable visuals even with today's technology. But there were a number of attempts. Arthur P. Jacobs, producer of the original Planet of the Apes films, was offered the project in 1970, but he didn't get far into pre-production before the project was scrapped. Similar issues befell the attempt by eccentric Chilean writer and documentary maker Alejandro Jodorowsky. After his success with Alien, Ridley Scott was offered the chance to make Dune, but he had recently lost his brother and turned it down. And so in 1980, for some 15 years after the book had been published, David Lynch was handed the reins. It took 4 years for Lynch to put together a script, have sets built, and find the right cast. The 1984 David Lynch Dune is a much-derided masterpiece. Many critics claim that the special effects look lame and not so special. Admittedly, the shots of spacecraft in space look a bit 2D, looking like cardboard cutouts, and the Guild Navigator's folding space doesn't look too great either. But the majority of the film looks spectacular. The scenes on Caladan, the home of House Atreides, and the Dune planet itself, Arrakis, are suitably superb and worthy of the source material. The cast is strong. Jürgen Prochnow is Duke Leto Atreides, his wife Lady Jessica, played by Francisca Annis. I think it's Annis. A classically trained actress who is no stranger to sci-fi, as she appeared in as the Widow of the Web in 1983's Krull. She would also go on to appear with Prince in his film Under the Cherry Moon in 1986. Yes, she did. The main character is their son Paul, played by Kyle MacLachlan, before gaining notoriety in Lynch's seminal Twin Peaks. Also, Kenneth McMillan is the villainous Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, his nephews Paul Smith as the Beast Raban, and of course Sting as Fade Routha, whose presence in the movie the marketing pushed. Even actors we didn't see much of left their mark. Dean Stockwell as Dr. Yui, Max von Sydow as Dr. Kynes. Richard Jordan as Duncan Idaho, Brad Dourif as Piter de Vries, and Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck. Now, French-Canadian director Denis Villeneuve, who brought us a sequel to Blade Runner no one was expecting, has taken on this impossible task. So what about the cast? Oscar Isaac as Duke Atreides seems like a good choice. Photos from the set look good. His wife, Lady Jessica, is played by Rebecca Ferguson, who is maybe best known from the White Queen TV series. What about Mission Impossible, bruh? What about Dr. Sleep? Their son, Paul, Timothée Chalamet. I have nothing to say about him. I have no idea who he is, and I haven't seen him in anything he's in, so I'm nervous for him being the lead. I think he's actually a fucking fantastic actor. The wrestler Dave Bautista is the Beast Raban. I can see that working. Patrick Stewart's part in the original Gurney Halleck, Josh Brolin. Possibly the casting choice I am most nervous about. Duncan Idaho is supposed to play a bigger part in the film, but as he's going to be played by Jason Momoa, I'm fine with that. You can't have too much Momoa. I'll tell you, Jason Momoa, and if you know what happens, If you know what happens with Duncan Idaho later on in the series, it's interesting that they chose him. Then The Elephant on Arrakis. It's going to be split into 2 parts. It's a huge project, and that might work, but the final parts of both the Hunger Games and Harry Potter franchise being unnecessarily split into 2, and The Hobbit inexplicably split into 3, it feels like a movie studio just cashing in again. I hope Dune doesn't suffer due to being split into 2 as these other franchises were. It is also a dangerous move if we consider the fact that the 1984 Dune cost an estimated $40 million and made little over $30 million. If Dune 2020 suffers the same fate as Dune 1984 and fails to find its audience, we may not get a part 2 and be left with yet another expensive failure. I am nervous and excited, Ian Samuels. Well, Ian, I feel your pain. As some people know, I did a whole show on the script for Dune. The first half, I mean, the script is one script, but it is the first half of the book, like you said. I loved the script. It even opens with Duncan Idaho. They might change that, but it opens with Duncan Idaho being dropped onto Arrakis to reconnoiter the situation with the Fremen. And it's very interesting. And I really love the script. So I hope it's good. I think it's going to be good. I think the pedigree is there. The question is, will audiences go see it? That is something I don't know. It is a very heady, intelligent movie, and I'm not saying audiences don't dig that, but you know they have to be engaged, and I think they will be. I think they will be. I have a good feeling about this movie. I thought the script was really great. Obviously, the cast is great. I think people who don't know Dune are going to be swept away by this movie. I really do, and we'll see. We shall see. But I have high hopes. I have high hopes. There's a few people here. Jet Screamer sends in a tip and says, if any post-geeks have not seen Rocky Horror, the Rocky Horror stay-at-home show tonight, streaming free at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we've partnered with Pride, at Pride Rise or something, to help raise funds and awareness for their COVID-19 relief, food, and supply drive. Well, I didn't know that you're doing that, but since you have sent this to me, I'm going to put a link in my live chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is a link to, I didn't quite understand, it is a live Rocky Horror thing. Here it is, right in the live chat. So check that out. Anybody who's doing a live Rocky Horror, science fiction, I would watch that. I would absolutely watch that. Willow is here. Willow sends her our daily tip, which I very much appreciate. Willow says, you like tough turf, but what about The Outsiders? I watched the movie after reading the book in the 8th grade, and at the time I didn't realize how many big stars were in it. Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Matt Dillon, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Diane Lane. Come on, the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio is in it. But you know what, Willow? You ask about The Outsiders. You ask. And I when I was a kid growing up, everybody had to read S.E. Hinton's book. And while I might prefer, as far as movies go, another 1983 adaptation of S.E. Hinton's work by the same director, Rumblefish, which, by the way, has a beautiful, beautiful Criterion Blu-ray. Rumblefish is amazing. I will say this, Willow. I own The Outsiders on Blu-ray, and this is the director's cut, is the complete novel version of The Outsiders. Stay gold. Yes, I like The Outsiders. You can't not like it. I mean, I have a deep attraction to the story because I was a kid and it meant something to me. The Socs and the Greasers. I don't think any kid that grew up in the 70s, if you said, are you a Soc or are you a Greaser? They would be able to tell, they would give you an answer. Because every kid had to read The Outsiders. Every single kid. So Willow, it's got an amazing cast. I mean, amazing. It's really, really incredible. And you got a lot of them, but there's even more. I mean, you go and you look at the, there's so many people. But you pretty much got them. Yeah, you got them. It's amazing. Oh, wait a minute. Well, no, you got them. You got all the major ones. But it's amazing, and I love The Outsiders. I do. I love the score, and it's kind of a throwback, and I probably like it more than I should, but I do like it. I mean, Francis Coppola, apparently the story was a girl wrote to him and asked him, after The Godfather, and to make those movies, and he made them in Tulsa, which I think is very cool. Eyes on the Wire sends in a tip and says, as a physical media collector, have you seen the remastered 4K by Mr. Argento, his classic Suspiria? Eyes on the Wire. Come on, bro. Come on, dude. Let me ask you something. Over or under that I own the 4K of Suspiria? I mean, first of all, when Don May of Synapse Films, Don May, it was his lot in life, like his dream was to restore Suspiria. Dream. He really wanted to do it, man, and he did it. And what is the thing about Suspiria is it is the result of a man's lifelong passion for a movie. And I did buy the original version. Before the 4K version came out, I bought the original Blu-ray that was part of that 4K master, fully understanding like a year later they're going to release a 4K. I have them both. I had to get them both just to support Don May and his obsession. Because when somebody goes that far to do something, and that disc is amazing. I can't wait to be blown away by the psychedelic color palette in HDR and to be rocked by that impeccable Goblin soundtrack. Well, you're going to get your eyes and ears blown away because the transfer is stunning. Now, Suspiria is one of those movies that when I was a kid, when I say kid, when I began being serious about movies when I was 13, when I was able to get a VCR, Suspiria was one of those, it was one of the hardest movies to see, and the versions that you would get were always bootleg versions. They were horrible. So I didn't really understand what the big deal was about Suspiria until I saw it projected. And then I was like, oh, because the colors are really important, especially the opening murder is really important to see and understand the color palette and the sound. And when you put in, if you only have the Blu-ray, but if you get that 4K disc, it's astonishing. It's astonishing. And you're going to love it. You are going to love it. Stubble McShave sends in a tip and says, I think it would be interesting to see Will Ferrell play a serial killer in a psychological thriller or horror movie. I think his physical presence and intensity would serve the story well. I think he can be very intimidating and scary if he chooses to be. That's really interesting. You know, I really like Will Ferrell. I think he can be the more when he's restrained and pulled back. I think he's quite a good actor. I love this idea. You know, you would need somebody like maybe what 1 Hour Photo did for Robin Williams. Although Robin Williams was also if you think about Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo, Robin Williams was also, he was a great dramatic actor. We saw that in World According to Garp and a lot of other films. He was a good dramatic actor. But Will Ferrell doing a turn, but you'd really need a deft director. You know, I could see him pairing up with like a David Fincher to go really, really dark. Like I loved what David Fincher did with Tyler Perry in Gone Girl. I thought Tyler Perry in Gone Girl was amazing. I really liked him. And I think you're right. I think finding comedic actors and giving them the opportunity to do something really dramatic is, I think it's a good idea. I like this idea, Subble. Subble goes on to say, you should check out the video about the One Power, the magic of Wheel of Time, that was done by Unraveling the Pattern. It's fan-made, but has a very high production value. It's very well made, and I'm sure you'll like it. Well, that sounds good to me. I mean, I'm trying to understand your Wheel of Time fixation. I want to. Nobody likes Wheel of Time more than Stubble McShave. As a matter of fact, somebody needs to contact you, and you should be doing publicity for the Wheel of Time TV show. You should contact their production office or something, because you should be getting paid for what you know and how much you love about the franchise to help promote it, especially in fan circles. Bob the Mediocre Bard sends in a tip and says, oh, it's Bob. Bob's. Today's limerick. Starfleet likes using transporters. A must-have for Star Trek explorers. They worked certain ways, but it seems nowadays they're magical molecule sorters. All right, Bob, I'll get behind this one. This one's good. This one's Bob. Bob has now, this is you've stepped up your game today, Bob. Let's hear it for today's limerick. I got to read that one more time. Starfleet likes using transporters. A must-have for Star Trek explorers. They worked certain ways, but it seems nowadays they're magical molecule sorters. I love it. That's your best yet. I'm very excited about that. Anonymous sends in a tip and says, I want that Gorn t-shirt. As people know, this is a Her Universe girls tee. It's a girls t-shirt that I bought at the San Diego Comic-Con the first year that Her Universe was showing their wares. And I walked up and I'm like, can I buy that shirt? And it was funny. The girl's like, well, you're a guy. You're buying it for... I said, fuck no, I'm buying it for me. I want to wear that shirt. It's like a black light Gorn shirt. I would have had this... If I was 8, I would have had this on... I had black light, like you'd get them at the country fairs or wherever, and you'd get the posters. You'd win them when you'd throw things in bottles or shoot enough targets. You get the Star Trek posters. They had the Kirk and Spock black light posters. As a matter of fact, you know what? I don't know if I've ever shown them, but I found them. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I gotta find this because it's totally worth seeing. Let's see. Black light Star Trek posters. I know that they had them, and I was able to find the black light Star Trek posters. Oh yeah, yep. Okay, here's one of them. I had 3, and this was. Oh, they're all here. But okay, I'm gonna see if I can bring them in, and you can see what I'm talking. Oh, what? Someone's Pinterest page. You're not helping me at all. All right, here's one. I had 3 on my wall as a kid. And here's one of them. Let's see if I can get this other one. I'll get the other one too, even though it's a bad picture. And I have to find it on Pinterest. So let me show you what I'm talking about. And the reason I bought this picture. I mean, I had to have it. I had to have this. When I saw this picture, or when I saw this shirt, I was like, oh my God, this shirt reminded me. Here was one of them. This was the Spock blacklight poster that I had on my bedroom wall as a kid. And that was one of the 3. And the other ones I had, this was, of course, the Piece de Resistance, which was this one. Oh, wait, let me blow this. Let me blow this up first before I show it to you. This is a lower res version of it. But how could I have not loved this? I mean, come on. So I felt that when I saw, looking at that and looking at this, what they don't have, and I'm looking for it, they don't have the Kirk poster. It's funny, I looked it up. I'll have to blacklight Star Trek. Let's see. Star Trek Kirk poster. Because the Kirk one was obviously my favorite. That was the one that that was my favorite. And that was the first one, but I bought them all. And wow, they don't have the Kirk poster. How can they not have it? Oh, well, somebody can find it. But it's not coming up in this particular search doing a I don't know why. But anyway, so that's why I bought this shirt. I mean, this shirt was like, oh my God, they've made a blacklight Gorn shirt. And I figured somebody was thinking. And that's why I was like, I'm all about Her Universe. When I first saw their stuff, I'm like, good for them. Good for them. Her Universe. So, Anonymous, you cannot have my Gorn t-shirt. But if you want one of your own, I got it from Her Universe. JPJPH1. I don't know if I'm supposed to pronounce that. Great content in the last couple days. Thank you so much. I may not be vocal, but I watch every day. Looking forward to Logan's run. Cheers. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for supporting the channel. I want to point out that I did drop my David Goodman 2-hour interview again, and I'll point that out, that he's, of course, the Writers Guild of America president, and he's the executive producer of The Orville, and he takes us through his entire 30-year Hollywood career. I dropped that in addition to the daily show, so thank you. I appreciate that. And remember, Robservations and the Burnettwork are giving away this JBL Bar 9.1 with Dolby Atmos sound bar, thanks to Connie and the Experiential Engagement Department at Harman International, which is a subsidiary of Samsung, which oversees JBL speakers. Harman International does. And they've been making audio equipment, obviously, for years, and so is JBL. This is an almost $1,000 value, and the only thing you have to do to enter this giveaway is to go, there's a link to the description of this video. Just click on that link and go through the portal to one of our Burnettwork places. Go to Whining About Movies and leave a comment. Go to the website and leave a comment. Go to a chat and leave a comment. Like these these videos are subscribed to the Burnettwork. And this is $1,000 value, and I'm giving it away a week from today. A week from today is my birthday, so I will give it to you then, which is pretty exciting. Goes on to say, thank you so much. I may not be vocal, but I watch every day. Looking forward to Logan's Run. Cheers. Tonight on Elizabeth's Whining About Movies, we will be watching Logan's Run, or talking about Logan's Run, which Elizabeth has not seen. So we're following up Life Force with Logan's Run. Amazing. I'll tell you a secret. We actually watched Night of the Comet, and I was thinking, oh yeah, there's Halley's Comet in Life Force, and we'll watch another Comet movie. But when I was watching, Night of the Comet's fine, but I just felt it was just a little, and so did Elizabeth, a little too slight and silly to talk about on Whining About Movies. But we did watch it, and Logan's Run we decided upon. Regis K sends in a tip and says, at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4, Luke wants to go to the pilot academy like his friends. If he had his way, he would have been a pilot for the Empire. How about that? Well, you know, I mean, at the time, the Empire controlled everything, and if he wanted to be a pilot, he would have been a pilot for the Empire. But in that world, you know, people knew about the rebellion, but I don't know, other than looking for droids, I don't think the Empire really touched much of Tatooine, that lawless planet. If there's a bright center to the universe, Tatooine was the planet that it was furthest from. So I don't know, we didn't see much of an Imperial presence in Mos Eisley, other than the fact that they were looking for the droids. And if the droids weren't there, I got the feeling that there would be no... It's not like we saw a garrison. It seemed like they were all just the people that were hunting the droids that came down from the Tantive V4. So, yeah. I don't know. I guess he would have been. But he knew about the rebellion. You know the rebellion against the Empire? So he did. So that's interesting. But yeah, he would have been. I guess he would have been a pilot for the Empire. John Willis is here. John Willis says, a thesis. Ooh, John. I love the fact that this is great. You'll see why. John Willis says, a thesis on Trekkian transporters and transstater physics. Hey, Rob. God, I love you people. I love you, imagination connoisseurs. I love you. Hey, Rob, I caught a bit of your rant on JJ Trek and how it violated common sense and devolved into magic and whimsical scriptistry. Whimsical scriptistry. I love, like, tapestry scriptistry. I love that. I haven't heard that. Whimsical scriptistry. Somebody should incorporate that into their screenwriting. We can't have whimsical scriptistry. I grew up in Trek in the 1970s and gave it a lot of thought. My thoughts were it wound up in the translator and how it was the basis of all modern Federation technology, from the warp drive to gravity plating to their version of electronics. Particles of matter have a dual nature. They are both particles and waves. Depending on the situation, they can be and should be treated as both. In one situation, they can feel as solid and substantial as a baseball. In another, they can fly right through a wall, as if they were an X-ray. Altering the circumstances is like the difference between resting on a table and winding up in a pitch. To me, the transporter was rather like a particle accelerator, which didn't break anything down, disassemble, or convert matter to energy, but rather wound up a massive object like a precise pitch, perhaps injecting it with a special kind of energy that dissipated over time and distance until the object once again came to rest, suddenly dropping out of its energetic state and re-emerging exactly where it should, none the worse for wear. This neatly sidestepped the question of whether you actually died or whether it was really you or not when you arrived. It explained why precise beaming took a lot of math and had to accurately target a destination, and lost both precision and accuracy over distance and time. Emerging inside a bulkhead or dispersing your atoms over a wide area then seemed less bombastic and more like shooting a man out of a cannon, rather than violating the familiar physical laws of physics to me. Gravity plating would then just be a type of material accelerator on a low setting that continually grabbed hold of you in a ship and tried to throw all of your mass down in a uniform field, like a carpet rather than reproducing the time dilation around a black hole. It could also produce a counterforce to inertia, or a structural integrity field. Shields would be the opposite, an attempt to throw matter away from the ship's hull or deflect micro-impactors. Tractor beams would be a transporter accelerator without the strength to beam an object through solid matter. The transtator would be this little module with the ability to impart this special property or energy that energized matter in a way different from common experience, shifting it from its particle nature to its wave nature and allow it to cut loose and fly away, only to shift back once it was spent. The impulse engines could work in a very similar manner, not through rocket propulsion, but rather more like the tractor beam or shields or gravity plating, by imparting or energizing the entire ship, so that no one on board would experience dramatic acceleration, though there might be some interaction with the inertial dampeners and ship's gravity. Sure, the impulse engine energizer might be driven by fusion reactors or any other reactor capable of producing electrical energy, like ship's batteries, but that was how I saw them. Warp drive would be a far more extreme version of the same phenomenon, more like a transporter beam with a time-neutral effect, no time dilation, literally a transposition of position over space at faster-than-light speeds, because matter did not actually travel at the speed of light, but as a wave function until it dropped back into its normal state. Of course, you can't fly blindly across space, since light from a planet or star only travels at the speed of light, so you would need to creep up on a faraway object by many small tiny micro jumps or micro beaming events. So the ship would travel across space only as fast as you could accumulate distance and had time enough to see what was ahead of you. Thus why the stars apparently move on the view screen. A computer that knitted its logic states across gates that existed both as patterns of mass and energy could, in theory, operate faster than a set of circuits which had to run always slower than the speed of an electron, and thus duotronics, dual particle wave state circuits, with apologies to Louis de Broglie. A conventional computer core would be like a series of canals with slow-moving boats on their surface through the streets of Venice, where a Federation computer would be like a Rubik's Cube of carrier pigeons flying faster than the speed of light from one section of the computer core to the other, faster and fleeter than the souls of a mercurial god. This made sense to me at the young age of 10 years old in 1974. And all of the subsequent Trek never seemed to really violate it, even though it has become strained over the years. But JJ Trek? Nah, totally violated it. So badly. It was never more than a fan film by a person who could have never watched Star Trek. That was abundantly obvious. It was a commercial film trying to define what a fan of Star Trek was. Some hip football and socialite prom team that wanted to wear the title of Trekkie. Please. Thanks for all of your inspiring rants. John Willis. Well, John, I really hope that the person who left that comment for me in yesterday's chat watches this one, because, dude, I mean, that was a cosmic and stellar mic drop, if ever I read one. Thank you for that. God, I love you, imagination connoisseurs. Man. What an interesting letter, too, by the way. I mean, the funny thing about it is, great science fiction, you might not know why anything works, you might not understand the actual physics, but the fact that you could even write something like that as a fan of Star Trek proves that they were doing something right. It's not opinion. It's not my opinion. But reading something like this, where you've obviously given a lot of thought, or at least your young self did, of what the transporter is, but you can still explain it in that way. It's all plausible until it's not. And that's one of the things that I think was lacking in Star Trek 09, is that I didn't believe it. I didn't believe the characters. I didn't believe the situations. I didn't believe it. It failed a verisimilitude test for me on every level, which is true of all of J.J. Abrams' work. I don't believe any of it. His film work. And That kind of bums me out because I take no pleasure in not believing. Christopher McCullough is here. Mr. Burnett, I found this front page headline from the New York Times while looking into the subject of this letter. Movie stars fear inroads by upstart digital actors. The actress to spur this alarm was none other than Aki Ross, lead of a film called Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. I own it. If you don't recall what this curiosity in film history was, Spirits Within was the makers of the Final Fantasy video game series Squaresoft's ambitious swing to spin their already more and more cinematic video games into an unstylized and completely computer-generated motion picture. They even intended to make the film's protagonist, Aki Ross, into the world's first completely virtual actor, intending for her to be used in movies elsewhere. It's interesting because, was it CAA just signed a virtual influencer to their roster? While the ambition on display is laudable, the year it was released, 2001, would not be kind to this film. It was because Aki Ross in the film AI, which came out a month prior, it was because of Aki Ross and the film AI, Spielberg's AI, which came out the month prior, that I first started to hear the term uncanny valley used in common parlance. The uncanny barrier, coupled with an impenetrable plot, made this movie a spectacular bomb, leading to the resignation of the head of Square and with him and his eccentric ideas about virtual actors. I only learned this fact about Aki Ross and virtual actors recently, but it struck me as similar to an idea I'd been kicking around ever since I saw another aberration in celluloid, Solo. Not because of the resurrected Peter Cushing or the young Leia that appear in the film, I think you mean Rogue One, but because of the Harrison Ford that does. Okay, I see. Not because of the resurrected Peter Cushing or the young Leia that appear in the film, but because of the Harrison Ford that does, the one played by Alden Ehrenreich. For months prior, speculation on how well he would pull off a Han, and before that, months of speculation on who would be chosen to. When we saw the final product reviews, they were mixed, but there was more positive consensus on how well Ehrenreich inhabited the role. I'll agree, even if he doesn't have the pipes or the stature to do a good Han Solo, I found his, or rather Ford's, body language pretty well emulated. But watching him play Han got me thinking. Like I'm sure a lot of my fellow connoisseurs, whenever I find something new, there's a part of my mind that tries to figure out how it will develop into our dystopian cyberpunk future. So for me, watching Solo, a story based on another story, using a new actor to play a role defined by its original actor, and a movie that uses computers to essentially make actors visually indistinguishable from their role's originating appearance, and you can see where I'm going. People perennially lament the death of the leading man, and with current cinema mostly interested in never-ending franchise projects that were established decades ago, most of the leading men we're looking for are getting on in years. It's a trope of Hollywood casting. Get Tom Cruise or no, get a Tom Cruise type. Well, all you need to do now is take this to the next step. Yes, the term character actor in our cyberpunk future will take on a whole new meaning as actors train not to play roles, but how to play the actor who originally played these roles. I'm the Harrison Ford type auditioning. I studied Harrison Ford acting at Juilliard. I've played Han Solo in Han Solo at Star's End Part 2, and I was in the most recent reboot of Air Force One. Since I had this idea not too long ago, the world has become a much different place. Deep fakes are coming more and more into the fore, and Tarkin was just the beginning. Dead hologram musicians like in Blade Runner are actually a real thing, not to mention musical acts like the Vocaloids. The idea of someone like Aki Ross being a virtual actress still seems almost quaint, but how long before they reboot something like Final Fantasy and ageless virtual actors start looking more appealing? I have to confess, the uncanny valley is not something I've ever really fallen victim to. Maybe it's because I'm one of the video game generation, or because watching so many old B movies made me better trained at suspending my disbelief. I'm not someone who finds these unreal people uncanny, sometimes cheap-looking, but not unsettling. I saw a bit behind the scenes of the Tarkin in Rogue One, and the actor who played him wasn't a terrible likeness, so I think he did the voice as well, which was very good too. I don't know what goes into the decision process between using a new actor and doing a full digital mask. I know I'd survive seeing new actors in old roles. How about Picard? Stewart's a great actor who, like all old artists, is trying to make as much money as possible while he is still able. Well, having his likeness live on another actor would help him and his family in his dotage. And now that he's potentially an ageless golem, well, it almost makes sense. I'm not sure how I'd feel if the next Solo movie were to have a deep-faked Harrison Ford put over another actor's face. It sounds demeaning, but like that, it's a brave new world, and I wouldn't put it past them. Christopher, you want to take his face off? Well, McCulloch, that's a really interesting letter. Look, these are questions I think that we as a human race are going to have to start answering. You know, I go back to Yuval Harari's book, Sapiens, and I've talked about this a lot. When I got to the end of that book, which is basically, it talks about 100,000 years of human history, basically. And it's a great book, and it's wildly entertaining. But at the end of that book, Yuval Harari asks, before he goes into his second book, Homo Deus, he asks, we have to decide what is it we as a species want. Now, we can't even decide when we're going to open states again in the face of this coronavirus epidemic. So asking the entire human race what they want is probably, well, ridiculous, considering most human beings on this planet are just interested in where their next meal is coming from and where they're going to hang their head and where they're going to take care, how they're going to take care of their kids. And so asking these big philosophical questions are something that is not something most of us are paying attention to. But I do think that they're things that we should be paying attention to. And my whole thing about movies, and again, this is because, as you pointed out, you're a product of the video game era. I love video games. You know, I grew up playing video games. I've watched video games get more and more sophisticated. And if you're playing even the last Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption or the Final Fantasy reboot that just came out or whatever, The Last of Us Part 2, video games are getting so incredibly immersive and they're getting so sophisticated. It's only a matter of time before we're going to be watching absolutely photorealistic people that never existed. You know, and maybe actors, I mean, obviously they've already digitized actors. I mean, all the way back to Onimusha 3, you're watching Jean Reno in a video game. But it's going to be a real interesting question. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that movies, part of the appeal is you're watching actors in them. And again, that only comes from me. If you were born today, who knows when you're 20 years old or 30 years old, where we're going to be at in terms of, maybe nobody cares, as long as somebody is if you can make a photorealistic person, and we will be able to, that is indistinguishable, but I don't know if they ever will be. I mean, I don't know. I think one of the reasons we like to watch movies is because of the people that inhabit those roles. Like, it's all a trick. It's all a trick. We know that those people aren't really those characters. We know that it's Tom Cruise playing Ethan Hunt. Or we know it's Clint Eastwood playing the man with no name. Or we know that Billy Crystal is Harry Burns in When Harry Met Sally. And Meg Ryan is Sally Albright. We know that. And I think part of the reason that we love movies is the fact that we have real people playing those roles. But at the end of the day, like with a video game, if you're playing a story that's compelling, and I kind of felt this way when I first played the first Uncharted. It was the first game, Uncharted was the first video game I ever put in. I got it from Amazon, and that was back in the day when I would get a package every week when stuff was released, books, video games, anything I wanted, movies. I'd get them all in the same package once a week. And I didn't start it until, I didn't have anything to do on a Saturday, and I got up early, made myself some coffee, and I threw in Uncharted. And 14 hours later, I'd finished the game. But it was the first time I was so immersed in the storyline that it ceased to be a video game. I love the gameplay, but I love the characters. I was so immersed, and it didn't bother me. And I think we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that level eventually. I think people are always going to want to see other people in roles, but sometimes the visions that they're going to, it's not just going to be the people, it's going to be watching a Final Fantasy movie now. I mean, back in 2001, that was 2001, 19 years ago. And it was still pretty interesting. Obviously, it wasn't convincing then. It's less convincing now, but look where we've come. Look how far we've come. It's going to be really interesting to see where we go. And it's going to be an ethical problem. I mean, are you going to be able to sell your, if I were to die, could my image, if people wanted to still watch Robservations, could I digitize it and have it go on using if they can map my mind and my opinions or whatever, would people watch this show if they knew it was a virtual me? Maybe you are. watching a virtual me? How do you know it's me? You don't. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Interesting questions. But these are questions that we're going to have to start asking ourselves in the digital age, and we're not. We're not. But anyway, I think it's a good question. Greetings, Rob. This comes from James Kevins. Greetings, Rob. As we're coming up on Mother's Day. Mother's Day is Sunday. Talk to your mom. I talked to her today about coming on the show. And when I mentioned Skype, she had no idea what I was talking about. So I will probably have Nancy Burnett come maybe on, I don't think she has an iPhone. I don't think she has a smartphone, but I'll definitely get her. I'll bring my mom on via my phone on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Greetings, Rob. As we're coming up on Mother's Day, this is James Kevins. I want to drop you a quick line about a Star Trek The Next Generation season 3 episode, The Bonding, Ron Moore's first episode. I've always found it interesting that a patriarchal society like the Klingons have a ritual like the Rustai. The episode ends with Worf and Jeremy Astor, a young boy who has recently lost his mother, lighting candles and speaking the words. Worf says, "Sos je ba so." Jeremy Astor, what does that mean? Worf says, it honors the memory of our mothers. We have bonded, and our families are stronger. And Jeremy Astor says, "So je ba so." It honors our mother indeed. Happy Mother's Day to you, Rob, and to all the members of the Post-Geek Singularity. Peace and long life. Well, thank you for that. What a great letter. Your mom would be proud. Let's see. Bob the Bold. Uh-oh. Bob has another limerick. There once was an angry green Gorn. On RMB shirt he adorns. Look at that face. Let's cut to the chase. That girl's shirt is Natalie worn. It's pretty good, Bob. Pulled that one out, too. There once was an angry green Gorn. On RMB shirt he adorns. Look at that face. Let's cut to the chase. That girl's shirt is Natalie worn. That's pretty good, dude. I'll give it up for you. I'll give up. That's good. Eyes on the Wire sends in a tip and says, the doors that cinema helped to open. I recently reviewed most of the French New Wave films and found a favorite in Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville. That's Alphaville, so we're talking Lemmy. Is that Lemmy Caution? I learned that some of it was based on The Capital of Pain by Paul Eluard, and now he's one of my favorite poets. Well, I did not know that. Kaz Graphics sent in a super chat and says, hello, Rob. Breaking news from the Hollywood Reporter. Tamura Morrison will be Boba Fett in Mandalorian Season 2. Just an FYI. Wow. That's pretty dope. Okay. Wow. 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 That's awesome. That is awesome. You know what that means? It means Hot Toys is going to make another Boba Fett figure, this time with Tamura Morrison's face, which is how it should be. I love that. I love it. Wow, that's very cool. Luke Reichelt's here, and he sends in a super chat and says, hey, Rob, that's a sweet Gorn shirt. Is there any chance of a quarantine Hot Toys tour? Lots of love. I'm working on that. I'm working on the Robservatory. Got to move some things around still. There's just, it's an excavation project, but it's ongoing. I think now that I've got more time since I did another episode of the Netflix show, I've done the 400 episodes. I still have the Bill Sienkiewicz interview to drop because I'm having, there was a frame rate issue between his camera and my camera. So I'm having a problem doing the whole 2-hour interview, but I will check that out. But yes, by the way, I still want to drop your videos. I need a confirmation that I can play those videos and not get a copyright strike. And you mean Gorn. I got you that you mean Gorn. Wow. Hang on. You know what? Kaz Graphics said that. Let's go to the Hollywood Reporter and let's find that article. Right? And let's put it up and see what it has to say. Ooh. Well, wow. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. And I am going to let's just get into this here. Let's see where we are at. Because Because, man, how cool is this? Breaking news. Breaking news right here on the show. I mean, I'm not breaking it, obviously, but somebody is. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. Eyes on the prize. The Mandalorian Tamora Morrison returns to play Star Wars universe to play Boba Fett. Especially after he was so dope in Aquaman. And he's gotten older, so he's the right age. The actor played the famed bounty hunter's father in 2002's Star Wars Attack of the Clones. The Mandalorian is bringing a familiar helmet back to the Star Wars galaxy. Tamora Morrison, who played Jango Fett in 2002's Star Wars Attack of the Clones, will appear in Season 2 of the Disney Plus Star Wars series. Sources say Morrison will play Boba Fett, the famed bounty hunter who first appeared on the big screen in 1980's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back and who seemingly died in 1983's Return of the Jedi as he fell into a sarlacc pit. Actor Jeremy Bulloch portrayed the character in the original trilogy. Boba Fett is expected to play just a small role in Season 2 of the series after the character was teased in the Season 1 episode The Gunslinger when a mysterious figure sporting the bounty hunter's trademark spurs approached the apparently lifeless body of Fennec Shand. Wow. In Attack of the Clones, one of the storylines revolved around the discovery of a secret army of clones being amassed. The clones were built off of Jango, and it was further revealed that fan favorite Boba Fett was actually a clone Jango, being raised as his own son. Daniel Logan played a young version of Boba Fett in that film. While sources say Morrison is playing Boba Fett, it's always possible that something sneaky involving cloning is going on. No way, they got to make him the real Boba Fett. The Mandalorian Season 2 is slated to bow in October on Disney Plus and will also include series newcomer Michael Biehn and features directors such as Alita Battle Angels Robert Rodriguez and Ant-Man's Peyton Reed. Morrison appeared in 2018's Aquaman as Tom Curry, father to Jason Momoa's hero, and had a role in last year's Dora and the Lost City of Gold. He has kept his connection to Star Wars by voicing Jango and Boba Fett, as well as other characters in various Star Wars video games. Ooh. Well, that's, you know what, there's some happy news for everybody. Who doesn't want to see him coming back and playing Boba Fett? See, this is what Star Wars needs. It needs people that know what people want. They know what the fans want. That is dope. Kaz Graphics, thanks for pointing that one out. How cool is that? Jared Snyder is here. Jared Snyder writes a letter, or he did write a letter that I was just on, and I don't know where it went. Jared, where'd you go? Where was your letter? Hold on, please. Jared Snyder. Dear Robert, my mother loved movies. All movies. But most of all, I think she loved the old silent classics. It's funny because she would have been too old for the silent era, but my grandmother was a very old-fashioned lady, and I can imagine her taking her daughter to silent films rather than expose her to the more risque sound movies of the 1930s. We lived in southern Connecticut, so my mother kept track of the showings of silent films at Quinnipiac University, and since I seemed to be the only one of her children to take an interest, I was often her date when my father was away on business. This is why The Gold Rush, City Lights, Modern Times, The Great Dictator, The General, and Intolerance, amongst others, are the first movies I remember seeing in a movie theater, although this was the early 1960s. It is also why I still have great affection for that era of filmmaking. My mother loved all films, not just old chestnuts. I remember her coming home from Lawrence of Arabia and describing how the audience rushed out for drinks during the intermission because the desert atmosphere of the movie left them parched. My favorite memory might be watching Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast with her and seeing that she too was mesmerized by the film's artistry. Happy Mother's Day, Gene. Regards, Jared Snyder. What a letter, man. What a fantastic letter. I just infer from that letter that your mom is no longer with us, but maybe she heard that because what a fantastic letter that was. Thank you very much for sharing that. David Allsbrooks says, just a quick note to say thanks for the stuff you've done and continue to do. It's people like you who keep the flames of artistic intellectualism above the gooey waters of dead-headed drivel. Keep on trucking, brother. I love that. It's people like you who keep the flames of artistic intellectualism above the gooey waters of dead-headed drivel. Keep on trucking. I mean, those two sentences together made my Friday, David. Thanks for that. I very much appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. That's terrific. Bob Koal is here. You know, in addition to his limericks, he also writes letters. And here's another one. Mr. B, here is my Mother's Day tribute letter. It's fairly long, so if you opt not to read it on the air, I'll understand. Come on, Bob. Come on. Hardship can shape people in different ways. It may shape their character. It may reveal it. It often does both. This was certainly the case with my mother. My mother came away from her hardships with both an unyieldingly high order of pragmatism, as well as an appreciation for things creative and whimsical, things that would be as far removed from harsh wartime realities as possible. This latter trait figured highly in this imagination connoisseur's formative years. Born in 1934, Clara, let me see if I can get this right, Clara Scheslin was raised on a farm in the German portion of, Silesia? She was third of 6 sisters, along with a baby brother. The farm struggled, but the children were well loved. Her father passed away early, nearing the beginning of World War II. Unable to feed all of her children, my Oma had to send Clara to work as a house servant at age 14. With Russian forces advancing, Clara would be brought back home, and the family was forced to flee. As was the case with so many refugees, her family's journey across Europe and ultimately across the Atlantic is the stuff of movies, with harrowing separations and miraculous reunions. Clara met my dad, Bernhardt, on the small ship that rocked and jostled its way to Ellis Island. My dad had endured his own hardships, starting with his early years surviving Stalin's Ukrainian famine. Maybe a story for another day. My mother's family settled here in Metro Detroit, where the Schlenzlin sisters, promptly took turns getting married and making babies, including yours truly, Koal Boy 3 of 4. The Koal Boys showed early artistic aptitude with their fairly advanced scribbles. Mom recognized this and took every opportunity to challenge our creativeness. She would set up frequent draw parties at the kitchen table. Being monster kids, our subjects were often taken from recently viewed creature features. My recollection of these movies is still filtered through the images my older brothers sketched. Gorgo, It Conquered the World, and The Colossus of New York were among these subjects, in all their color, pencil, and crayon glory. As is still the case, for better or for worse, I had to come up with things I had not seen yet. Squid-like aliens, dinosaur mutants, etc. At one of these sessions, Mom shocked us all by doing a spot-on, poster-size watercolor rendering of Rat Fink. No way. Wow. Mom had some artistic chops. Oddly enough, she did not paint again until all of us were grown up. However, she did express herself as a seamstress. This led to how Halloween became so special for me. At 4 years old, I designed the Mean Ghost costume, which my mom brought to life. The Mean Ghost is still intact and has been worn by more than one generation of Koal. None of that glittery Cooper crap for us. Then came glorious versions of Wolfman, the Devil, and the Mummy, among others. All of us Koal boys loved it, especially me, as I would bring her new ideas almost every year. In my early teens, my rock band, Spectrum, would play for the church teen club's Halloween parties. Your church teen club had a Halloween party? I want to go to that church. Mom would enjoy helping me become David Bowie or the Demon of Fertility or something else crazy. Halloween was still our creative time together. I was an art jock in high school, but pursued music for the first half of my life. Mom was supportive, but was naturally concerned about my life choices. Truth be told, she saw me flounder for far too long. Then, Clara developed cancer at 60. Before she succumbed 2 years later, I redirected my energies to helping her and to starting a new career as an illustrator. I'm grateful she was able to see her Bobby finally get his act together. Both my parents have passed away for quite some time, and I have since taken over my childhood home. Autumns here have brought back special memories, and my love of Halloween has since been reignited. In recent years, I've put together a bit of a display. As always, for better or worse, it had to be something I hadn't seen before. But among the one-off creatures and giant critters is an old, glowing blow mold. A blow mold of stacked, happy pumpkins. It welcomes the brave trick-or-treaters onto the porch for their candy reward. This blow mold was my mom's, and no matter what spectacular monstrosities come or go from my display, these happy pumpkins will always be here. They'll be here to remind me that this display, as well as every creative venture I take, was made possible because of my mom's appreciation for things creative, because of her sense of whimsy, because of her nurturing this imagination connoisseur. Regards, Bob Kowal, a.k.a. Atticatch. All right, to stop myself from shedding a tear right now, and I am going to, I think, I might have put it away already. Let me see if I did. Hang on. See if it's here. Because if it is here, I'm gonna. No, I think I stored it elsewhere. But anyway, Bob, as we all saw on his 400th show, on my 400th show, we saw an incredible example of your amazing creativity. And what a great letter. What a great way of honoring your mom. Thank you very much for sending this in. I'm sorry, I'm still looking for it. I was going to play it if I had it, just because it was so very cool. And I don't know why I can't find it right this second, but I'll find it again. What a great letter. Thanks for writing that in. What a great tribute to your mom. And apparently she did quite the job with you, sir. So I salute you. And what a great Mother's Day letter. Thank you for writing that. Thank you very much for taking the time to write that and send that in to me. That was very nice. That was a great letter. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Let's see. What do we got here? Omar94. Omar is here. Hey, Rob. I'm a huge fan of both the 1936 Flash Gordon movie serial from Republic Pictures and the 1939 Buck Rogers movie serial, both of which star Buster Crabbe. This gave me an idea, but I don't know if it'll happen. Since theaters and studios are really struggling because of COVID-19, do you think one way of getting money for large groups of people, and do you think any one way for getting money on large groups of people back is by bringing back adventure serials? I think it's a way of getting people back in theaters more often, as well as studios and theaters making more money by splitting up a story into segments that release in close proximity to one another. It would be like watching a TV show, but in the theater, so it would be a movie show similar to how film franchises like Marvel and Star Wars are very episodic and released in theaters. Thanks, and live long and prosper. I have an idea for you. Quibi. Quibi's already done it. Why doesn't Quibi, as a great ad campaign for their upcoming, their series they want everybody to sign up for, why doesn't Quibi put episodes of their shows, of their ongoing narrative shows, like the Sansa Stark show, like the one where they're trying to survive the wilderness, and the beginning of movies? It'll get you to sign up for their series, or you can keep going back every week to see what the show looks like on the big screen instead of looking at it on your effing phone. But I've always loved serials. I don't know how audiences would respond. I mean, I like it when I go to see Pixar movies and there's a short in front of them. I think that's always pretty dope. But I don't know. I don't know if that would work out. But maybe it could start a whole new art form. I don't know. It's not a bad idea. This letter comes from Tim Davies. Hey, Rob, the spider monkey coming at you again. Since work has dried up, I seem to have a lot more time to do all sorts of stuff. One thing is to write letters to you. So here you go. Another thing that I seem to have a lot of time to get back to is one of my oldest hobbies, model making. Before international air travel ground to a halt, I found myself working so many hours that I didn't have much time to commit to model making. In fact, the only time I'd done any in the last few years was when I was getting my girlfriend's nephew into it, which I think I've told you about in the past. Well, now I'm at home every day. I've got a full-on production line going, painting and assembling various kits at once, building dioramas and specialty bases, my snowscape base for my 1/44th scale AT-AT ATST and snow speeders I'm particularly fond of. I'll have to send you the pics. I'm waiting on 3 new Bandai Space Battleship Yamato kits to arrive. The 1000 Ginga, the 4-pack of the Dimensional Drive ships, and the translucent golden Yamato from the end of 2202. So I'm curious, what was the last kit you made? When was it? Do you have any kits that you're waiting to build? Just a short one today. Maybe the next one will be longer, about something more substantial. Until next time, this would be a better world for children if the parents had to eat the spinach. Groucho Marx. Well, I have to tell you, I have a lot of models that I have bought that I am waiting to build. The 22-inch Eagle Transporter, the Pod from 2001, the Discovery from 2001, the Katinga from Star Trek The Motion Picture, the 1/350th scale Katinga. I wonder if I can reach, though. I wonder if I can get right now the model. And I've got models in various... The JJ Prize from Star Trek '09. I know, it's sacrilegious. I've been building it forever. The Forbidden Planet, I have a small Forbidden Planet. The ship, the C-570 from Forbidden Planet. It's in paint. There's not much to it, but I've got to finish painting it. It's primered, but I haven't painted it yet. So I have a lot of models, but the one I really want to build, the one I should go get it. I wonder if I can get it. I don't know if I can reach it, but it would be fun to show it to you since you've written a letter. I'm going to try and reach it because you'll freak out when you see this. I'll see if I can get it. I can't reach it. But I can show you a picture of it. I can't reach it because it's a huge box and it's behind another box and I'd have to move stuff. But you know what? Since you asked, I'm going to get a picture of it. Let's see. 1/20th. And I want to build this because I have all the secondary characters. I have all the secondary pieces of it. I all the extra decals and everything. Let me see if I can actually get a picture of it because it's worth seeing and I want to build it so bad, but I don't know if I can even get to Kitcraft and here, let me get a good picture of it and get the paint for it. But this is the great picture. So here it is. Here's the model I really want to build. I want to build all these models, but this one requires, I've the one thing I don't have, I need to get lights for it, and I don't have all of the paints that I need. But you're going to love this. This is, here, check this out. This is the model I really want to build. This is obviously it's a 1/20th scale. It's made by Playmax from Japan. It's the MF-37 Minimum Factory VF-1 Super Strike Fighter Valkyrie from Macross or Robotech. And it's Roy Fockers. Come on, man. Well, I would make it Roy Fockers. I've got all the decals. But it is 1/20th scale. It's huge. But it would require a lot of work. It looks simple. The kit's pretty easy to build. But to do it correctly, it needs a lot of work. And, you have to do a lot of weathering, a lot of panel lines. But I really want to put lights in the cockpit and lights around it so it could light up. But, yeah. That's what I want to do. That's what I should be doing. But I always have, I must have 40 unbuilt model kits. Our moderator, Greg Smith, I've got model kits he's given me that I want to tackle. But yeah, so there you go. But it would be a bummer because you have to be able to get the paints. And you know what? Elizabeth gave me a brand new airbrush for Christmas with a compressor and I want to bust it out. I want to bust that airbrush out and get to work. Doing a lot of pre-shading. And by the way, I do have a 1/350th scale Space Battleship Yamato, which is, I mean, it's huge. It's like this big that I also want to build. It's right over. It's in a box. It's right over there. I can see it from where I am now. But yeah, I'd love to do that, man. So more power to you, sir. Here comes another letter from Omar. Yes, I'm going to read it again. It's a quick one. Rob, if you're interested, since you're a big fan of Gladiator, there's a cutscene movie on YouTube for a video game called Rise, Son of Rome that you might want to check out. I thought it was really good and compelling. Just type into YouTube, Rise, R-Y-S-E, Son of Rome, cutscene movie. It has a similar story to Gladiator about a man whose family is killed and seeks revenge against an emperor. The only difference is that it has fantasy elements as a number of gods appear. Thanks, and live long and prosper. I'll check that out. He didn't send me a link, so you just have to follow it in there. But yeah, that's pretty dope. Fortunato sends in a tip. Like, are you talking Fortunato, the character from the Wild Card series in book 1, The Long Dark Night of Fortunato? Robert, if you've read Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson, I have, and it's great. You may be familiar with the concept of Raktor. This is in regards to the overlay of avatars on actors, but in the realm of MMORPGs. Great sci-fi, by the way. Great interviews with Snodgrass or Snod, Fuller, and Goodman. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching them. I mean, a lot of people they haven't been watched as much as I thought, but I'm sure they'll rack up views over time. But I hope to do more interviews with people. I've got a few. I've sent out a few inquiries about people I would love to interview, and we will see. We'll see what happens, if people will come back at me, and I think they'll be great. I mean, that's kind of what I want to do more of. All Metal Mike sends in a super chat and says, I built models as a kid. My favorites were the Universal Monster models. During the lockdown, I built and painted the Invisible Man model. Come on, dude. How could you even see the Invisible Man model to even build it or paint it? No, I'm just kidding. I like that. That's an Aurora kit. I was making a bad joke. But that is a good kit, especially because it's got the bandages on it and stuff. If that's the kit you have. Yeah, I mean, it's very funny. I've talked about model kits. I love models. I mean, that's why I love figures. I mean, I love the tactile, the imagination. That's what I played with when I was a kid. And I know in this day and age, people, they just don't. Kids today don't build. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because there are some really, like, I talk about Genic. Like, if you're talking about model kits, if you watch Jenic, if you go to Genic's channel, I think he's Korean. I'm not sure, because I've never seen him, and I can't really tell. The language looks, but I can't tell. But if you watch Genic's channel, the guy, the most unbelievable painter of Gundam, mecha, and cars. I mean, the guy. Hey, I wish I had a fraction of the skill that he has with an airbrush. I mean, it's amazing. That guy, and I sit mesmerized and watch. The problem with building models for me is I always want them to be perfect, and it's tough if I can't make them. I mean, I buy all the secondary model parts and stuff. Like, they just came out with the Laboratory Eagle, the 22-inch Laboratory Eagle with the booster rockets on the top and the bigger lab pod and the metal engine bells. I mean, I want that so bad. But I haven't built my last Eagle. It's still waiting to be built. So I end up buying these kits that it's like one day I'm going to build them, and now I just have a backlog of kits. But I don't know, to kids today, like I said before, when you can fly a photorealistic Millennium Falcon in Battlefront 2, why would you want to build a model of the Millennium Falcon? By the way, anybody who wants to build a model of the Millennium Falcon, the best model kit ever made of the Millennium Falcon, well, there's two. There's the D'Agostino, which is a quarter scale model of the Millennium Falcon, and then there's the 1/72nd scale Bandai perfect grade Millennium Falcon. So you can get the best Millennium Falcon models ever. Anyway, I don't know. I digress. People they're talking about models. Like, what? Why? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to an end of Robservations episode number 410. what great letters you wrote about your moms. You can still send me more letters in about moms if you want. I will be reading them tomorrow and on Sunday. Obviously, I was not on the John Campea show today. He said there was no news, and he wanted to sort of give people a review of, or show people his studio, his machines, and all that, which I understand. I heard he was making fun of me on the show. Damn it. That's okay. But tonight, we will be back with Whining About Movies, episode number 25, where we're going to be discussing Logan's run. And I'm telling you, what a blast that is going to be. I cannot wait to hear what Elizabeth thinks of Logan's run. Obviously, it's a big, important movie to me, so it should be fun. And yeah, so I hope you're here. I want to give a special shout out to Kaz Graphics, who is here. Kaz sent us some salmon and some cheese from Seattle, which is amazing. I don't think we should really eat on the show, but maybe we could, because, man, it looks delish. So thanks to Kaz Graphics for that. So tomorrow, episode number 411. You know what I'm going to do? By the end of today, I'm going to get that. When you see that model kit, I mean, I showed you that picture. I mean, you've seen it. You can see how big this is. But you can't, even this doesn't do, I mean, this is huge. This thing is so big, a 1/20th scale model. I can't even begin to, and plus, I mean, I look at this is too clean. It needs to be, you got to weather the heck out of this. But, I mean, this is a monster. I'd probably build it with the gear closed, too, and hang it from my ceiling. But hang it right from here, because I have flying model rockets I've built hanging from the ceiling here in the Robservatory. But how dope is this? Oh, my God. Who wouldn't want to build this? I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, I wouldn't want to build this. But anybody who wants to build models or likes Robotech, I mean, come on. Look at that. So dope. So rad. But, yeah, anyway, I know I digress. But I come to an end. This is an end of Robservations, episode 410. Remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, and all you have to do is listen. Yes, even people who think that I'm a myopic nitpicker because of my feelings about the Star Trek transporter. You're not going to change my mind, and obviously somebody came to my rescue with that. What a letter that was. I want to thank my moderating staff. I want to thank Mike Bodden, the mayor of Riverdale, Iowa. I want to thank Detective Jim Boyers, and I want to thank his wife, Heidi. I think I should just keep thanking Heidi on every show because she's let him do this show. So shouts out to Detective Jim and his wife, Heidi. I hope she's feeling well. Also, there is, of course, Greg Smith, who's still building a 1-to-1 scale snowspeeder, even though it is the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, and all the places he was going to display it, he probably can't this year, but he's still going to have it. He's going to have a land speeder and a snow speeder. I mean, my God, that's cool. I want to thank Louis Yu, who will probably be back for Whining About Movies tonight. I also want to thank Jordy Lyons for being Jordy Lyons. And I want to thank, of course, The Richard for not only making cool T-shirts, but hosting watch parties and administering the Whining About Movies Facebook page and the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page. So thank you to these gentlemen who make all of Robservations and all of the various things we have a more palatable place to be. So that's always a good thing. So thank you for that. I will see you guys tonight, along with Elizabeth, for Whining About Movies, episode 25. And as always, have a better day.